Welcome to Barbara's Bulletin, the podcast that brings you the latest news and updates from around the world. I'm your host, Barbara, and I'm glad you're joining me today. We have a packed show for you, with stories ranging from business and finance to international relations and global events. Let's dive right in and take a look at what's making headlines. First up, we have news that Japan's Sumitomo Mitsui Financial Group, or SMFG, is in talks to buy a minority stake in India's Yes Bank. This move could potentially boost Yes Bank's capital base and help the Indian lender recover from recent financial struggles. The deal is still in its early stages, but it highlights the growing interest of Japanese investors in India's banking sector. Meanwhile, in international trade news, India has offered to impose zero tariffs on certain auto parts and steel imports from the United States. This move is seen as a gesture of goodwill ahead of upcoming trade talks between the two countries. The offer could potentially pave the way for a new trade agreement between India and the US, although details are still being worked out. In other news, Europe's power grid is facing a $1 trillion upgrade challenge to cope with rising green energy output and increasing electricity demand. A recent blackout in Spain and Portugal has highlighted the need for modernization and reinforcement of the continent's aging infrastructure. The European Electricity Industry Association has warned that investment is essential to avoid future blackouts and ensure a reliable supply of power. Tensions between Pakistan and India continue to escalate following a deadly attack in Kashmir. Pakistan has carried out a second missile test in 3 days, while India has ordered security drills in several states. The standoff has sparked concerns about the potential for a confrontation between the two nuclear-armed neighbors, with world powers calling for calm. Finally, in a story that's making waves in the academic community, the Trump administration has frozen future grants to Harvard University. The move is seen as a response to the university's handling of foreign funding and research collaborations. That's all for now. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Barbara's Bulletin. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. We're diving into our middle segment today, where we'll be discussing the ongoing conflict in Sudan. As you may know, the country has been gripped by war between the army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, since April 2023. The dispute over a transition to civilian rule has led to devastating consequences, with over 12 million people displaced and half the population pushed into acute hunger, according to the United Nations. Recently, the conflict has escalated in the city of Port Sudan, where the RSF has launched drone attacks on key infrastructure, including fuel depots and the container terminal. British maritime security firm Ambry reported that the attack on the container terminal has caused significant damage and disruptions, leaving the city without power. The attacks have also targeted civilian areas, raising concerns about the humanitarian impact of the conflict. It's worth noting that the international community has condemned the violence and called for a peaceful resolution to the conflict. Neighboring countries, such as Egypt and Saudi Arabia, have expressed concern over the situation, while the United Nations has emphasized the need for all parties to respect human rights and protect civilians. As we continue to monitor the situation in Sudan, it's essential to acknowledge the complexity of the conflict and the various factors at play. The dispute over a transition to civilian rule is a critical issue, but it's also important to consider the historical and socio-economic context that has led to this point. We'll be keeping a close eye on developments in Sudan and providing updates as more information becomes available. In the meantime, we urge all parties involved to prioritize the safety and well-being of civilians and work towards a peaceful resolution to the conflict. Stay tuned for our final story of the day, right here on Barbara's Bulletin. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. As we wrap up today's show, I'd like to take a look at some of the latest news stories making headlines around the world. First, let's head to Japan, where a driver was arrested after a multi-vehicle crash in Yokosuka left 8 people injured, including 2 children. The accident involved 9 vehicles and occurred when the driver collided with several cars, including 2 buses and a taxi. Fortunately, all of the injuries were minor, but it's a sobering reminder of the importance of safe driving practices. In other news from Japan, Aston Martin Asia's president, Gregory Adams, recently shared his insights on the luxury car market in the region. According to Adams, the business is less about selling cars and more about selling an emotional experience. He notes that luxury isn't about need, but rather about desire and making someone's dreams a reality. Meanwhile, in China, there are concerns about the accuracy of the U.S. blacklist on Chinese companies. A recent investigation found that the list contains numerous errors and outdated details, which can have serious consequences for businesses and individuals affected by it. One Hong Kong business owner, Doris Au, discovered that her company was mistakenly identified as a firm that supports Russia's military, resulting in her bank account being frozen. These stories highlight the complexities of global commerce and the importance of accuracy and fairness in international relations. As we navigate the intricacies of the modern world, it's essential to stay informed and engaged on the issues that matter most. That's all for today's Barbara's Bulletin. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, stay engaged.